We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
It's all yours, Cyndi.
Got it. I had to click the got it button. Man, it's good to be here. And we begin as we always do with our playing our opening song and welcoming each other in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Sinking in. And there are tears caught in my throat. Just sharing my direct experience of this moment. There's something about being in the sanctuary, sinking into this space, saying yes to this space that feels warm and open. And I'm so grateful for your presence. Yeah. So, our statement of purpose. We are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. And for today's gathering, core value number 5 has been chosen. We accept all forms as temporary appearances permitted through enduring awareness of self. We live this value by honoring all appearances and all experiences while continually reflecting on changeless truth. And we're back. And I'm inspired before we play this first song to share that my intention here is actually not to share anything new. I've said that before. I feel like I've been saying that a lot in these homilies, but to instead open to share my experience on this path and how these teachings, which all seem to be the same these days and are getting simpler in my space all the time, how they're working in my now experience. And I feel to say thank you, Regina, because I did listen to all the audios, the instructions on how to lead, and I was very grateful for them. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak what is occurring in me. Um, Part of what happens and when I talk to people and the mind is spinning, right? And you're looking to slow rest from the mind, part of the tool, one of the tools I use is music. And the first 2 of the 3 songs I've chosen are 2 of the songs that I use that interrupt when the thinking mind has a little bit of a steam, and I want to rest from it and focus on my thought of God, on the truth. Um, these first 2 songs are 2 of the songs that I are regularly called to, and this first one um, really just reminds me that I'm never alone, and that when it feels like I'm stuck in a story of separation, that's when I've learned through all of these teachings that I get to call for higher wisdom or I call to God. You know, it doesn't really matter what name we've been taught here in Awakening Together, that there are bridge thoughts or bridge ideas that when we're stuck feeling small, we can step into the bridge and call for a higher vibration. And this song helps me do that. The only other thing is that I've also learned, and what works for me, this word sin, because there's a line in this song that says, you know, when I have sinned, to me, sin really just means that I'm in error, right? There's no guilt or shame. It just means that there is an erroneous or misperception that is um, spinning, right? And that is what I'm looking to surrender. There's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no wrongness in that. There's just the request for correction. So the only other thing is with this song, as well as everything that occurs during the sanctuary, my invitation to you is to, instead of listening with an intellect, to open to experience it all. I heard Adi Ashante in a retreat once say, listen, listen to my voice as you listen to a soft summer rain. And I invite you to just soften into everything because, again, I promise you, nothing shared here, whether it's through my voice or the songs or the reading, is new. But there is an opportunity to have a new experience with all of it. Marisol, the first song, please. Thank you, Marisol. My prayer for us today is one of surrender. The prayer is that there be nothing in this story, in this body mind, that limits the transmission of truth into our space. I sat with a beautiful podcast recently from two gentlemen I had never spent time with before, but they really spoke of things we've spoken of before here, and specifically how groups such as ours form a coherence, and just the vibration, the energy, that we're sitting in provides healing as we allow it, when we bring ourselves into willingness that it work on us. So my prayer for all of us in this hour or so, this time, hour and a half that we have together, is one of surrender, openness, and allowance that the truth do its thing in us. Thank you for being here and feel us. And the reading came intuitively. I'm looking, Livy, are you with us? Your video went off. There she is. The reading's from A Course in Miracles. It's entitled The Borderland. Those of us who have studied um, the Course knows this section. It's not a very long reading, and Livy and I have spoken, and she's going to read it slowly. And I ask that you simply take it in, not with your intellectual mind, not trying to figure out, judge, resist, or even understand it, but allow this reading that Livy has agreed to share with us now to be received, and allow it to inform you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Livy. What a blessing to have you. I hand things over.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's a privilege and an honor to be your reader today. I love you. The Borderland. Complexity is not of God. How could it be when all he knows is one? He knows of one creation, one reality, one truth, and but one Son. Nothing conflicts with oneness. How then could there be complexity in him? What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice complex. The truth is simple. It is one without an opposite. And how could strife enter its simple presence and bring complexity where oneness is? The truth makes no decisions, but there's nothing to decide between. And only if there were could choosing be a necessary step in the advance toward oneness. What is everything leaves room for nothing else. Yet is this magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum, nor is it necessary we dwell on anything that cannot be immediately grasped. There is a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It is not a place, and when you reach it, it is apart from time. Here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where conflicting values meet, and all illusions are laid down beside the truth where they are judged to be untrue. This borderland is just before the gate of heaven. Here is everything thought made pure and wholly simple. Here is sin denied and everything that is received instead. This is the journey's end. We have referred to it as the real world. And yet there is a contradiction here in that these words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This is because knowledge makes no attack upon perception. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still, and yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made. Nothing the Son of God believes can be destroyed, but what is truth to him must be brought to the last comparison that he will ever make, the last evaluation that will be possible, the final judgment upon this world. It is the judgment of the truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. It has no meaning and does not exist. This is not your decision. It is but a simple statement of a simple fact. But in this world, there are no simple facts, because what is the same and what is different remains unclear. The one essential thing to make a choice at all is this distinction. And herein lies the difference between the worlds. And this one choice is made possible. And the real world is choosing simplified. Salvation stops just short of heaven, for only perception needs salvation. Heaven was never lost and so cannot be saved. Yet who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell unless he recognizes they are not the same? This difference is the learning goal this course has set. It will not go beyond this aim. Its only purpose is to teach what is the same and what is different, leaving room to make the only choice which can be made. There is no basis for a choice in this complex and overcomplicated world, for no one understands what is the same and seems to choose where no choice really is. The real world is the area of choice made real, not in the outcome, but in the perception of alternatives for choice. That there is a choice is an illusion. Yet within this one lies the undoing of every illusion, not accepting this. Is not this like your special function, where the separation is undone by change of purpose and what once was specialness and now is union? All illusions are but one, and in the recognition this is so lies the ability to give up all attempts to choose between them and to make them different. How simple is the choice between two things so clearly unalike? There is no conflict here. No sacrifice is possible in the relinquishment of an illusion recognized as such. Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true, can it be hard to give it up and choose what must be true?
Thank you, Libby. So, I agree. Beautifully read. It was in Gentle Healing year 2, I think, where it dropped here. This teaching that we always have faith in something, and we can consciously choose what to have faith in. And the way that became alive in me, um, number one, no matter what my current experience is, I'm going to choose to put my faith in the truth as being true. And I invite you, at least for right now, to do the same. Doesn't mean that the experience here changes, but I'm going to place my faith as my foundation as to why I get up and why I turn away from the pain and rest when it seems that the world isn't saying that the truth is true. I'm going to have faith that this work that we're doing, and I recognize pretty much everyone here, so I'm speaking as us, as this divine we, right? That the split is healing and that all is well. And any indication that it's not well is part of the delusion. And I feel to say that first because it sets the groundwork. So if we state, hey, I've been studying the course or Inner Ramana or NTI or whatever these truth teachings that light us up in the awakening together, right? I'm spending all this time. There is this piece of us, right, that know that are being called by these truth teachings. And so I'm inviting us all to make that our guiding light and not the problem solving that the individual personality seems to invest its time and its focus on, right? No matter what is going on here right now, at least right now, I invite you in joining me in trusting that we are being guided by something that is magnificent, that wants us to know the truth, that all is well, that we never left the Tao. So let's leave that as the foundation. And from that place, um, I'm being guided in this homily and this sharing now by in a virtual enlightenment retreat that I took over New Year's. It was an extraordinary experience. I turned my phone off on a Friday. It didn't come back on until a Tuesday. I allowed myself to have this full retreat experience, no TV, no connecting with family members or with work, no problems to solve. Um, I stayed focused. I think it was 33 plus dyads in a matter of 3+ days. And I lived in that experience. And it was led by a master who's been doing dyads since dyads were first created. So she studied with, Charles Burner, and she was married to Lawrence, and so the energy of the experience was phenomenal. And the first thing that she told us, and that I'm inviting us all to understand, is treat our inquiry, treat this moment as an experiment, right? And by that, you can't get it wrong, right? As long as we're believing that what I am is not you and that there's separation and there's problems to solve, we're accepting that there's some sort of delusion or barrier or something in our space. That, we're having faith that the truth is true, which means that any sense that I am a separate being with problems separate from source that needs to be created is not true. And yet it seems to be a relative experience. How do I get out of it? She invited us all to treat the whole experience as an experiment. So we're exploring from a standpoint that we've never left our source, from the standpoint that all is well. We get to experiment with different ways of doing this, of exploring, of self-inquiry, knowing that ultimately all is well and we've never left our source. The second thing, I did have an extraordinary experience, and I did have what they would call an enlightenment experience. And by that, my thinking, it happened in the dyad retreat that Anne and I helped, that Anne facilitated, and I supported at the sanctuary in the spring. I had an experience then too where the mind just stopped. It was the most glorious experience ever for about, I don't know how long. There was no argument, right? I was fully me, fully me. I never lost the sense of a me. And yet there was no defense, no argument, no problem. This sense of congestion that is the thinking mind was gone. And I had a different but similar experience that is still working in me at this recent retreat. And the actual experience of shutting things down is not what I want to bring here. It's what happened after I laughed for about 35, 40 minutes straight in a dyad, which hurt the belly, but felt really good and seemed to be contagious. Things got really, really still in here, right? And and this is very important for me to share, and it's bringing tears, and it's going to be part of, I call this the barriers of truth. The talk during the enlightenment intensive is the barriers to enlightenment, but truth is my goal, right? Truth, that which has no opposite, to know truth, to be truth, to serve truth, but the barriers are the same. So key is, after laughing, after the mind got quiet and everything got still, right? The words dropped, download from truth. And the words were simply this: life can be easy. My mind continually adds like a Sunday morning, but the actual download was life can be easy. And what's key for me here in what I want to share is you would think, thinking is not all that useful, that the response to a statement like that was obvious for me anyway, that came from something other than the thinking mind, other than the world. It just showed up. It was a download. Life can be easy. You would think, oh, how wonderful, about time, right? But that's not what occurred. What occurred was a physical contraction as if I had been burned. What occurred was tears and physical pain. And I watched it all from a state of peace because the mind had stopped. One of the, I'm not going to go in order, it looks like, one of the barriers to truth realization, well, Colleen the master called it karma, right? The description is the I am bad belief, right? The sense of unworthiness. And here's the thing that I want to share. which is so beautifully informing my practice now, is that it's not really in the thinking mind. At least it's not in my thinking mind right now, right? Karma is the physical kind of result of past action. By the way, Supreme Yoga, which I'm studying now, beautifully has this quote that says, "There's no power greater than right action in the present." So this idea that I am a victim of what happened before, past lives or whatever, collective consciousness, has no bearing in this, because there is no power greater than right action in the present moment. When my mind got quiet, when the mind got quiet, so there's no interpretation, and the divine literally placed in me, it's working in me right now. Life can be easy. What's being activated is all the conditioning, all the past stuff, everything that was not fully processed in my space, that doesn't trust that statement, that resists that statement, that argues against that statement. But it's not personal. It doesn't make me, having this feeling that life can be easy for others, but not for me, or anyone that relaxes into a sense of an easy life is lazy, or will die on the streets because she's not working for her bread, or whatever's coming up, right? All of those it's window dressing. There is an energetic imprint or a blueprint, at least here, and everyone that I've ever met has their version of it, that argues against the truth, that resists it, that holds this belief in separation. And it's a mistake, at least here, to hold this belief that that has something to do with your current thinking mind. When the thinking mind drops, the blueprint, the imprint, the fear response, or the anger response, or the sadness response, or the separation response, it's like a karmic imprint in this sense of a separate self. For me, anyway, that's phenomenal news, because we've been given all the tools. Like, it's not personal. It has nothing to do with who I am. We just heard the reading from Olivia, and if you really sit with any of the readings we study here, they all tell us that what we are is an expression of God. What we are is the love and the light. What we are is a movement in the Tao. But there is an unfully processed experience of being unworthy, or being separate, or being apart, or not working hard enough, or not being enough, that is here. But all we have to do is surrender it, see it, focus on our faith that the truth is true, and it unwinds on its own. The reading in A Course in Miracles literally states, this curriculum is not about you doing it, right? You can't do anything as a seemingly separate being. All we could ever do is get out of the way, is to stop paying attention, careful, to stop giving believing attention to thoughts of separation, unworthiness, fear, anger, sadness. And I stop myself, because I'm not implying that we want to deny that those thoughts are our relative experience. Because actually, if they're coming up, like I feeling them, like experiencing them over and over in various degrees, acknowledging that these are the result of past karmic imprints, Life that was not fully lived is another way of putting it. Like, I'm going to save some of this pain and conflict for later. So it gets stored in this seemingly separate self. That's all it is. So when it comes up, if we could hold it, knowing that, trusting that all is well, trusting that the truth is true and everything is just a movement in the Tao, or everything is consciousness, or everything is God, those words, they all mean the same thing in this space right now, then that stuck bit of unprocessed experience just unwinds. And there's nothing here that even desires to understand that, because from the sense of a separate self, there is no understanding. There's faith and trust in the process and in the truth. So this karma is what the master called it. We tend to call it the I am bad belief. It's all the same. It's all this imprint. And just knowing that and stepping away from identifying with it and resting and accepting that the truth is true is all that we're really being asked to do. Isn't that extraordinary? And it's a big part of making, when the imprint that life can be easy, it really has nothing to do with what the body does when it wakes up and it moves through the day. It has everything to do about the thinking mind and quieting it and letting it go. Stop believing its crazy stories about who we are and why we're here and why we can never, ever, ever have the happiness that God seems to promise us that always it all takes place there. And when you drop it, life is easy, like a Sunday morning. So that was actually the third barrier that the master talked about. The first one was distraction. And man, we've heard distraction talked about here. And it was so cool because I am helping to facilitate an intro to NTI course. And I believe at least one of the people that I'm doing that course with is in the room. And right there in Luke chapter 3, in the first week of Intro to NTI, we get to look at the distractions that are in the mind, right? And we're just invited. And the master said the same thing. And I've heard, at least the way it downloads here, I've heard Regina talk about it time and time again as one of the reasons why we go on retreat and why we say yes to things like diet intensives and extended quiet and putting ourselves in this place, because there is a thinking mind here that has a smorgasbord of shiny bubbles that all appear real in the separate self to pull us out of that quiet space that is doing the work and creating disturbance within the flow that isn't necessary. So when these random thoughts and stories, I don't know how many, literally, I was laughing in a dyad yesterday because it was a gorgeous contemplative experience. And I was still and open and paying attention to my partner, who may also be in this room right now. And I was able to confess this thinking mind wanted to make sure I remembered that I was almost out of cat food. Over and over and over. I'm sitting here quiet and still and holding space for my partner. And this thinking mind, like every 30 seconds for a while, said, now don't forget the cat food. Don't forget the cat food. You have to go to the store closes at 3. So whatever you do, make sure, like literally, like distraction. And you know what's very, very cool is that I watched it. I smiled. I reported it. It's one of the things we do in a dyad practice is we report out what's going on. And as soon as I reported it out, I let it go. And I did buy the cat food when it was time to buy the cat food, but distraction. The second is these blocks, right? Karma, past experiences, is one way of looking at these blocks. But the other thing is literally sometimes these thoughts that show up, sometimes they're just random thoughts that come and go, right? But if they're continually coming, They're window dressing for the belief, the idea, the notion underneath. And these are the blocks to love's presence, right? These are simply these, I'm having this experience that I am a mother who needs to always worry, whatever. The thoughts that don't go, this distraction, they're hiding, they're window dressing over a block, which is essentially nothing other than and this is big Course in Miracles along with everything else, but it's really just a block that's covering. It's like putting clothes over an idea, a notion, a thought that we've continuously believed, and so creates the world we see, right? But it's not any more real than thoughts that pass by. It's just believed so much that it's sort of like created. Sometimes I think of them as kidney stones, or they're like radio beacons inside that block the free flow of energy, and that keeps showing up underneath all these different stories that seem to continually repeat ourselves. What do we do with a block? Um, we hang with it. We rest. One of the things we were told to do in the diet, and I've had a lot of other people tell me to do is, and it's where this reading comes from, is we hang at the edge. Isn't that beautiful? Jeff Bailey, who's going to do a retreat now in La Vida, and who is my yoga teacher, and I am training to be an Avita yoga teacher. He talks about that in the physical body in his yoga all the time. We go to the edge. We're not afraid of the pain. We can't be afraid of the pain. Michael Singer teaches us if we want to heal, that pain is a beautiful messenger, right? All it does is it shows us where these blocks are. And when we rest from the story and we just relax around the edges of this block, the fear. Yesterday, I discovered it was so beautiful, right? My daughter is driving from Kentucky back to Buffalo to be here for 2 weeks. We're in blizzard conditions. There are whiteouts. Please don't drive. Please don't drive. And I kept walking into this experience yesterday of living my life. And every once in a while, the mind pulled me into somehow, since I am her mother, I should spend the day worrying until I know she's parked in Buffalo, right? Not real. Not real. But it wasn't a passing cloud thought. It wasn't a distraction. It hid fear. It sat with what I was taught a mother has to worry if she loves her children. It was a suffering of the world. And so instead I treated it like a block. And I sat and I got quiet and I rested and I allowed this sensation of fear to flow. Sensation of fear to flow. And I didn't act in the world. I didn't keep calling her. Where are you now? How you doing? Are you safe? So the thoughts were there, but I understood that they were just hiding the block, the fear that the world is real, the fear that suffering is real, the fear that someone separate from me, it didn't even matter. And I watched it dissolve and I slept really well. She's currently closer to my friend Chuck than to me right now. She still has to make her way through lake effect snow. And I didn't call this morning to see what her plans were because, part of what we're taught is to not feed the fear by using the world to dissolve it. We use this work. We use hanging out on the edge to dissolve it. The fourth barrier, preconceived notions, overlooking the obvious. It's a fun one. Many of us have this view of what it means to be alive and in the flow, that it's something special. It doesn't matter how often our teachers, our worldly teachers of the teachings tell us it's not special. Something here continually insists, if it ain't special, if I don't have this amazing mystical experience, or if all the personal fear thoughts don't just drop immediately, then it isn't it. And in those spaces, we literally we turn our back on what's here now. The truth is, we've never left our source. The truth is, living an awakening life is natural. And nobody has anything we don't have. Because nobody's different. We're all the same, right? The sense of suffering, the sense that we are somehow not the truth, or not the Tao, or not consciousness, is an experience. It's not a truth. And letting oneself acknowledge that and rest in that, and letting go of the thinking, the attention being placed on something outside of this present moment, is a really important step in allowing the awakening to happen, and allowing the truth to dissolve all that's not true. I love that I set the intention now to follow the edicts in these videos that Regina created for us. And as such, this is a beautiful time for me to rest. It was an automatic, natural resting point. Everything that was here to say has been said. And this next song is the song I use often, and I've heard this from others too. It's those first few moments in the morning that the thinking mind attempts to create. It's been feeling more and more like congestion, like I could awake as the natural self, the thinking mind turns on, and then there's this heavy, congested, oh, look at all the things I have to do, or I wonders, and it structures. And I admit that my thinking mind, this thinking mind here, has gotten really weak. Um, and by that I mean it's easy. I've been finding that I can tell when it turns on, and I've been able to feel its effects early enough to counteract, which is extraordinary, because it's like pulling the plug, or putting a short in an electric wire. You could stop the cycle, the flow. Um, this is the song I go to more often than not, especially in the morning, um, when I see that the thinking mind is attempting to gain whole and create an experience before I do what I have to do to sit down for my morning meditations. And so I literally put it on repeat, while the coffee is being made, and I walk from place to place. And one of my favorite lines in this song is, the waves are coming in, but I am standing still. Marisol, thank you. It's a beautiful day. The one thing I forgot to say before I played the song is that we are a church. And so you are invited to just go into your heart. And if you are called to donate, you could use the little barcode on the screen, or click the link that Marisol just put in the chat. And now we open things up for whatever anyone would like to share, teach yourself, anything about your current experience that you would like to say. We have about 8 minutes while the recording is still on. Love to hear from you. Please, Ruby. You know, you'll have to unmute first, right? So we can hear you.
Yes, your message was, of course, perfect for me at this particular time. And it explained my experiences that I've been having. And it was just so perfect. But I didn't understand the reading, but I'm going to review your message again. The one thing that I was going through when I was going through all these, and the reason why I'm sharing this, because I couldn't find anybody else that could understand what I was going through, but you were able to help me understand it. When I was going through this pain in my mind, and I was just sitting there, and it was a thought that I was suffering, but I wasn't, and so it was a conflict. And so that was very helpful. And then what happened down the road, I was having these experiences of pain and thoughts and da da da. And I said, is that really I don't believe that that's me. I mean, for right now in this particular. And so a voice came to me and said it was impersonal, and I could understand that. So I looked at this movie. I was guided to look at this movie, and I'm almost good. I want other people to be able to share. I looked at this movie, and I'm going forward after like 3 or 4 months, but this movie was just recently, and it was Nina Simone. A lot of people may not know her, but it was a documentary on Netflix. Who was a jazz artist, and the first thing before they did the documentary, it said, freedom is no fear. So she was a jazz artist back in the 60s. And that's all I'm going to say. But she had this, they said she was before her time and stuff like that. But she had this feeling in her body that she had to release. And it was amazing. And then you explained that movie to me as well. And her pain and her suffering. And that's what everybody was saying, that she went through suffering throughout her life because whatever. But you're not really suffering. You're not. So it's when you get in touch with that, and whatever's happening is happening, So thank you so much. And I'm going to listen to your message again. Just, oh my God. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. And in case you didn't know, my current spiritual aspiration is simply, it's not personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how you help reinforce that. Hello, my friend Pia.
Hello, everybody. And my spiritual aspiration is love God and do what you want. Yeah. And yesterday I took a great a break because it was terrible weather. So I was indoors drawing. And this is from Regina. Can you spotlight it? It's from the Stillness. What's the name of the book? Out of Stillness.
It's the latter, right?
Yeah. Can you spotlight it?
That would be Marisol.
Marisol?
We can see it. If you're
Can you read it, Sydney or Marisol?
Right. The Stairway to Heaven has a way of inviting us when it is our time to step up to the next step. Until that invitation comes, we do well to focus on becoming confident and stable on the step we are on. As we gain confidence and stability, one step at a time, we prepare ourselves to step up to the next step when the invitation comes.
Yeah, and if you look at the painting, you see the stair?
Yep.
It's an S, the self. I think it's really fun because that's the self with big S. So thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Pia. I have my empty shell where I see it every day. You are a gift. Is there anything more? So Marisol, do we listen to the song or do we end 2 minutes early?
We can play some of the song if you like.
Sure. So this last song came as a guidance. It's not one of the songs I've listened to all the time. I used to listen to it a lot, but it does speak to everything we shared here today. Thank you, Marisol. Thank you, everyone. Feeling blessed and grateful. And with that, Marisol, I surrender the mic.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.